Hello and welcome into the KE Report. I'm your host, Shad Markowitz, and today we're getting an update from Troilus Gold Corp. Troilus is traded on the TSX under the ticker TLG and on the OTCQX under the ticker CHXMF. And I'm joined today with the president and CEO of Troilus Gold Corp, Justin Reid. And Justin, great to get you on the show. We've been trying to put this together for a couple of weeks, but you've been very busy on the road marketing the story of Troilus and been very busy meeting with a lot of key stakeholders. So great to get you on for an update. And I want to circle back to some news that the company put out just on March 13th, so about a month ago. And it really solidifies the prior conversation we'd had. We had talked in the past that you had a lot of letters of intent from these different groups, Export Development Canada, and a lot of different groups from Europe. And this was an interest that they had in the copper portion of the Troilus Gold Project. And you announced that you put out a syndicate of global lenders for up to US $700 million towards the project financing. So a huge piece of the capital stack put into place. I want to just kick it off there, Justin, talking about the capital stack, not just from this, but also the other pieces that you're still working on behind the scenes to put together something where you can make a constructive decision on the Troilus Gold and Copper project.
Thanks for having me, Shad. And it has been too long, but we've certainly been busy on a number of fronts. As we talked about last time, through the end of last year, we were busy securing letters of intent from major off-takers with significant funding based upon raw material guarantees into the European Union from export credit agencies, Euler Hermes in Germany, EKN in Sweden, Finnvera in Finland, and Export Development Canada. Letters of intent are great. They say, hey, if you deliver X amount of concentrate into these smelters, the government's going to support you. That's step one. Step two is to move them into a fully mandated commitment. And we were able to accomplish that, and that's what that news represents. So essentially, we had to name our MLAs, so our mandated lead arrangers. So those are the banks who actually give you the money based upon the guarantees from the export credit agencies. And so our mandated lead arrangers, Export Development Canada, EDC, because they're an actual lending bank. We brought in Societe out of Paris and KfW out of Germany. And all these groups have huge experience dealing with export credit agencies and huge experience in the mining lending side. So they're the ones that actually facilitate the deal. Our LOIs were based upon delivery of up to 60% concentrate to each group. And when you have three groups, you don't have 180% of the con. So we had to scale it down to the right size, which the perfect number is US 700 million. And it's a great team. Weekly calls with over 40 people are underway. SocGen is running all of the technical DD, which is incredibly well advanced. KfW is running all the equator principles and social DD, and Export Development Canada is running all the documentation. So things are progressing on schedule. Based upon our timeline, we look for financial completion in Q4 of this year.
Well, and Justin, a couple of people have sent in questions, and really this stems back almost a year where people were debating a year ago if you would need to bring in a strategic partner to try to capitalize the project and come up with the CapEx. I think you've shown that you can actually go it alone on this particular news that we're talking about, but I know there's still other pieces to put in place. I think you were looking at maybe something like a royalty or stream on part of the project, or looking at some of the other components to bring into place. What else has to come together to finalize the capital stack that you'd be able to make a construction decision?
Yeah, so there's both a financial and a technical aspect to your question. And I would say a partnership would be exceptional. Is that if you needed technical help or you needed capital. And some of the big announcements we've made is, and I think we've talked about it before, is the hiring of Denny Rivard to run our entire development team, the hiring of Andy Fortin as the head of our operational team and his whole team. So we have everything we need in place now to deliver the project. We have the A team from BBA Engineering, who's running all of our detailed engineering and our EPCM contract. So we have everything we need technically to deliver this project on time, on budget, and to move to that production decision or construction decision, which will come at the end of the basic engineering, moving into the detailed engineering, which will be in Q4. The other parts of the capital stack, yeah, 700 million gets you almost there, but you're still 400 million short. We're going to overfund this asset so that we have cost overrun facilities and working capital facilities. You will see those come in as part of the capital stack from other off-takers, mainly those based in Quebec. You're going to see the participation of the Quebec government through Investment Quebec in the case, both through equity and through subordinated debt to our main project. And we are looking at the value of royalties and streams alongside of this as well. And we are actively talking to all of the major groups in the space who you know. So everything's moving really well. I think we can have our entire financing solution in place, like I said, by the end of the year, well before we receive our permits. And quite often you see companies deliver their permit and then put their project financing in place. We're going to have our project financing in place well before our permits so that the moment we get those, we're running.
Well, and let's dive into permitting a little bit, but also tie it in with some of the support that you've been seeing on a federal level, on a provincial level for the Troilus Gold and Copper Project. You put out some news just on April the 8th mentioning that you were name dropped in their 10 most important projects. And a lot of this, again, is because of the copper component along with the gold. And it's just a significant project of size and jobs, and it brings a lot of infrastructure in. So maybe talk about one part of it being the permitting, but also the support that you've seen on a governmental level.
Yeah, the permitting, first of all, is going incredibly well. We put out a press release and we chatted about that already. Where the majority of our chapters have been reviewed by all the various jurisdictions, the CRE through the COMEX, the province, and the federal government. We are concluding that review, so all comments, concerns, questions, queries, clarifications have been done. And we will shortly be filing our final ESIA and our closure plan, which is a major event for our company. And that's a major catalyst coming very shortly. But with that, a number of things. We are in a period of economic instability in Canada based upon the disruption from the South, right? Tariffs are coming in. Trade wars are beginning, escalating, de-escalating. It's just bringing a lot of instability in. And from a Quebec perspective, which we are absolutely focused on, the aluminum industry, because of the tariffs, is taking a very hard hit in Quebec. As well, the forestry sector is as well. So, we are a year and a half kind of on the outside away from building our operation. And that's 1,400 jobs for 2 years in northern Quebec, and then 680 jobs for over 22 years. So from a employment and taxation standpoint, it has huge impact. So the government is really looking at that as a displacement to some of the volatility that they're seeing. Based on kind of current commodity prices, that over the life of mine, that's over $3 billion in taxation to the Quebec government and over $1.5 billion to the federal government. So huge impact and visible impact. At the federal level, we just concluded our election on Monday, but both sides are taking a very aggressive stance towards project development and Canadian first. And so the opposition party named Troilus as one of the 10 major development projects in Canada. And that's just not mining. That included oil and gas, pipelines, ports. And so that recognition has brought a lot of attention to us and also shows the importance of the aspects that I just discussed. Then our elected government, the Liberals who won on Monday, the Liberal government didn't name Troilus, but they named, essentially, they discussed a de-escalation of the permitting bureaucracy. So they're talking about a lot of what we do is redundant. Both our provincial filing and our federal filings are essentially the same things. We're made to do it twice. And so the federal government that's in power has talked about eliminating the federal review process and relying on the provinces. And as such, if that happens, especially with the focus that we have in Quebec right now, I can see the opportunities for expedited permitting. But at the end of the day, we're so well advanced, I don't know if it's actually going to have an impact. But our stock's up over 80% this year, and I think a lot of it is because of that political focus that you mentioned, Shad.
Yeah, so you're really seeing the plan come together here with the capital coming together as well as the political will, the permitting. Just one more thing, since you are good stewards in Quebec, that I think we'll mention is just you had some news out, and it's really where you and 15 other mining companies are helping with the fires that happened in James Bay, Quebec back in 2023, and you're just reconstructing some cabins that were burnt down. This ties in some of the local stakeholders, though, from the Cree Trappers Association, some of the First Nations, and it's a good ESG thing to do. It's also just a good thing to do in general, just as a stakeholder in Quebec yourself. So maybe just mention that initiative that you're doing with other mining companies in the area.
Yeah, it was not any one company saying we're going to do it. It was actually the industry as a whole, which was excellent and supported by the government as well. The forest fires of 2 years ago that had a huge impact through the north and really impacted everybody's ability to work had an even bigger impact on the communities and on a lot of the First Nations who live on the land and use it to sustain themselves and trap and their livelihoods. And a massive number, I don't even know the full number of camps actually burnt down. So these are essentially their homes away from the main community where they go at various times during the season to live on the land. And a lot of them were wiped out. So the industry got together in Quebec. We put a fund together. I think the majority of the companies, the majors contributed more. The junior companies like us contributed $25,000. And what we're doing is rebuilding these camps smashed by the government. And, it's not about trying to even get social acceptance. It's just about doing the right thing. We're sharing this land right with them and their partners, and we want them to get back up on their feet. So, yeah, great initiative in partnership with the Cree Trappers Association.
Yeah, I just thought it was a nice thing to be doing as the industry, as the mining industry. Also, just a good thing to be doing in the area that you live and work. So we'll keep tabs on that project. Also, I want to get to some of the things that are very germane for growing the deposit here, and that is the news you just dropped on the market yesterday on April the 29th. These are some drill hits that you put out from the Southwest Zone, which we have talked about before as an area where you'd continue to keep drilling it, but you put out kind of a banger of a hole here, Justin. 2.44 grams per ton gold equivalent over 56 meters. So a nice 100 gram plus intercept, and that included 3.28 grams per ton gold equivalent over 34 meters. So again, some really nice long intercepts as well with good grade. You had a couple other holes in there too that I won't steal your thunder, but just walk us through what you're learning from these additional holes put into the Southwest area.
Yeah, they were spectacular holes. First of all, best ever pulled out of Troilus. So that was great to see. The two deposits that had been mined in the past, the J and 87, were drilled off at essentially 60-meter spacings. And the huge expansion we've done over the years and as part of our 22-year mine plan, and that's only on half of our resource, is drilled at the same spacing. The Southwest deposit is located about 3 kilometers away. It's a brand new discovery by us. And it was also drilled at like 60-meter spacing. But it's a little bit of a different beast in the sense that it's a little more structurally controlled. And it has a little more importance in the sense that it is really going to be our first 10 years of production comes out of Southwest. So knowing the importance of it, the importance of the cash flow, and making sure we have 150% confidence in every ton that we're taking out there, we chose to go and do an infill program and bring it down to about 35-meter spacing and have a huge level of confidence. And so as we did that infill drilling, some of the slightly higher grade areas and some surprises occurred. The first good thing is the grade didn't go down. That's the best thing. So our existing financial model has been absolutely collaborated, but more importantly, we are seeing the opportunity for these higher grade zones that we've identified very close to surface expand. And so, yeah, our highlight hole is 56 meters of almost 2.5 grams equivalent. There was 34 meters of 3.3 within that. That was in an area where we were expecting like 1.2. So the higher grade zones are expanding. I'm not going to say the whole grade of the deposit comes up, but the first 5 years, now we see a potential for a higher grade profile. Some of the other holes, 51 meters of 1.2. Again, that's a great hole. The average grade of that deposit is 0.8. So very shallow, 40% higher grade in areas where we were expecting something lower. And so all of the drilling, we're put the highlight holes, which look great, but in general, all of the drilling confirmed or improved the existing grade. So when we move into the detailed technical DD for our lenders, there's now a higher level of confidence on the potential for that cash flow. And for me, that was a really big takeaway.
Yeah, I think just having that higher level of confidence is the main thing, but to find higher grade near surface, you'll take that too, especially since it's early on in the mine plan, which helps the economics, helps the payback to be quicker. And I will put an image for people listening into this of figure 1 where you can see the plan view and you can see where some of those holes were inside of the pit design. Anything else you want to say as far as exploration initiatives for this year, Justin? Because I know when we talked with Kyle a little while back, there was even some discovery drilling the company was going to be doing later in the year.
Yeah, the drills are just stopping now because it's still frozen up there and we're going through breakup. We'll have 5 crews on the ground, helicopter supported all summer, looking at some of our regional targets. At the end of the summer, the drills will be back working on the West Rim and down on some of our regional projects down at Palador around Sumitomo's Renault deposit and really focusing on high grade opportunities that could potentially feed our asset in the future.
All right. And then just as we wrap up, people always want to know what's next. And you have a lot of different news on many fronts coming. We've talked about some of the key ideas and some of the key milestones coming on the call, but maybe summarize it for us, Justin. What's the key news you want people to watch out for the balance of this year and as we maybe roll over into the beginning of next year?
Well, pretty big list. We have 80 people on staff going full out. We have BBA has 50 people plus in our engineering office moving forward. So what you're going to see from us is you're going to continue to see some exploration results, which is great. I don't think it necessarily moves the needle to our economic model, but it shows the potential for like this drilling, either potentially higher grade or expansion. You're going to see news on our trade-off studies. This as part of our detailed engineering, which we think is going to make the project much more robust and far more flexible, which is really guaranteeing a CapEx and production profile. You're going to see a lot of permitting news as we advance, taking in all this political goodwill that we're getting as well, and expediting this project towards development with stakeholder approval. You're going to see site updates as far as our dewatering and pre-development work that we're doing, which hopefully expedites the production timeline. You're going to see a lot of permitting news, like we've also discussed as well, and you're going to see financial news that's going to show that capital stack forming nicely. So, yeah, all aspects, and I expect that as a company, we're going to have fairly significant things to say every couple of weeks. So I'm sure we'll be talking lots.
All right. Well, there's going to be a lot of news on tap, folks. So for those listening in, if you want to follow along with all the news flow, definitely click on the link down in the show notes. It takes you right over to the Troilus website, straight to their news section, where you can sign up for updates and just have them drop into your email inbox, or just follow along with the news. It sounds like there's going to be a steady stream. And yeah, Justin, we'll get you back on. We'll do some updates every so often just to group some of this news into conversations where we unpack for everybody listening the progress the company is making at the Troilus Gold and Copper Project in Quebec. Thanks for coming on the show, giving us this update, Justin. And as always, looking forward to our next conversation.
Thank you very much.